In this video, we have finally survived 1,000 days in the hardcore Minecraft world. From building an adorable starter house to a huge zoo for all the rare mobs, which literally took me an entire month to finish, as well as a Sniffer Sanctuary, every automatic farm in Minecraft, and a dedicated wolf kingdom, we have truly transformed this world. Here is a full movie of our awesome adventure from start to finish that you can enjoy after a long day, while doing some homework, or even to relax before bed. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. I'm gonna keep an eye out for a cherry blossom biome because I really want to build my house there. So I guess that might be one, so we'll have a look. But first, let's get some wood. Now I can craft myself a wooden pickaxe. I've got to say, I love starting a new Minecraft world. It's just so cozy, I don't know how to explain. So I might get a bit of stone. Like that I have all the essential tools. Okay, so we've got a cherry biome right here. I really love the little effect there. And I've got to say, these little flowers there, they just look perfect for the biome. It would be really nice having, like, you know, little animals running around, like maybe a squirrel or something. I feel it would just look perfect. I'm really sorry for what I'm going to do to you. Yeah, you as well. I'm really sorry. Don't walk away. Well, maybe you should. Yeah, first night in 1.20, guys. I've got to say, it's pretty cozy around here. Oh, and we've got a little skeleton here. There we go. Oh, guess what? I was saying it would be nice to have plenty of animals, but we've got loads of little brown rabbits. Oh, he really reminds me of my rabbit. So it's time to go get a bit of iron. So I'm gonna look if I can find maybe a cave somewhere. That should do it. I'm gonna get a bit of coal as well. Oh, and you know what? I'm actually going to take some of this copper because I think you need copper to make a brush for excavating sniffer eggs. So of course that is something I'd like to do. Well, I think we've reached the end of the cave. It wasn't very big. This looks more like a proper cave. So we've got 5 pieces of raw iron, so I can make myself a pickaxe as well as a shield. I wouldn't mind finding a spider so that I can make myself a bow, but in the worst case, I can just wait for the nighttime. So of course, you can't start a new Minecraft world without building a lovely dirt hut. So of course, I'm gonna build a much nicer house by the end of the episode, but yeah, I want to start off with a dirt hut. Oh, I'm a bit silly. I could have just made my hut like straight into the hill. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna do that. So I can hear a spider, so maybe I'm gonna have a quick look outside. Okay, so there we've got a spider. Come along. There's 2 spiders down there. I'm gonna try and lure them over. There, perfect. So now I can make myself a bow. And with my bow, I can kill creepers from a safe distance. Oh, and I have no arrows left. Oh dear. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think it's time to head back there. So yeah, basically, here is the beautiful dirt hut. You can clearly see all the effort and the details I put into it. So today we're going on the hunt for chickens because I really need to start getting some arrows. Oh no. Oh no. I didn't see there was some dirt. Oh my god. Yeah, excellent Minecraft player right here, guys. I think I might not leave that in the video. I guess we'll see. So I haven't spotted any chickens yet, but I will get the sugarcane. Well, there they are. Perfect. So this one will be George, and the other one will be Lewis. Yes, I have 2 male chickens that lay eggs. It's perfectly logical. Come on, guys. I don't want you to stay out in the rain. I'm gonna make a little enclosure for George and Lewis and their many, many kids to come, of course. So I'm gonna leave George and Lewis with their kids, and I think I might go down caving again, because for the moment I only have a chest plate and I'd like to have the entire armor. I was thinking I'm actually going to start a mine because I'd like to get some diamonds, but if ever I find some caves, I will have a look for more iron. Yeah, right before going in the mines, I've noticed I do not have a lot of food, so I'm gonna go out and get some quickly. I think I'm gonna make a bucket with the remaining iron I have, like that I can start growing a few crops. Oh, and you know what? Let's bring back some cows as well. So now that I've got the cows, the crops, and some more food, I think it's finally time to go mining. There we have it, the full iron armor. Oh, I found diamonds already and I'm super far from level -57. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, you can show your support by subscribing and giving a big thumbs up. So now that we're at level -57, I'm just going to do a bit of strip mining to try and find diamonds. By the way, guys, tell me in the comments which of the 2 new mobs is your favorite. Honestly, I'm gonna get a few diamonds, some iron, and then we're off to find a sniffer egg. Oh, is that a spawner? Well, I guess we found a skeleton spawner. This is really practical. So there is a saddle, which will be perfect for when I find a camel. So I got a bit more than a stack of iron, which will come in very handy. I'm still gonna head back down to see if I can find maybe some diamonds. Oh, and right before that, I actually got 2 carrots from killing zombies, so I'm going to plant them as well as the melon seeds I found at the spawner. And by the way, I forgot to name the first 2 cows I got, so I chose Glenn and Maggie because I think that's a good couple's name. So I've just read that level -59 is actually better than -57, so I guess we have to go a little bit lower. Of course, I quickly got fed up of mining deep slate with an iron pickaxe, so I kept an ear open for nearby caves. We've got a zombie there in the subtitles, so he must be above me. There's quite a few zombies there. Oh my god. Yeah, there has to be a spawner. This is just not possible. Okay, yes, indeed, there is a spawner. Oh yes, we've got a diamond up here. Oh, well that's quite awesome. So I'm just gonna take these 3 and I'll come back later on for the diamond that is up here when I've got fortune. I crafted my very first diamond pickaxe and collected some obsidian for the enchanting table. I then went to look for some extra sugarcane and looted a sunken ship as well. I was therefore able to craft the enchanting table as well as a brand new item, the brush. At that point, I decided to set out on an adventure in the hopes of finding a warm ocean to get sniffer eggs. Sadly, I didn't find one, but I came across a pillager outpost with 2 allies that I befriended, and I also found some dark oak and spruce trees and collected the saplings for building my starter house. I stole a few cauldrons and some hay from a village because I wanted to make proper enclosures for my animals. I still needed to get loads of leather and sugarcane for making bookshelves, so I decided I would explore my world at the same time. So of course, I'm really sorry in advance to all the cows that are gonna have to go. Well, that was a bit rough. So we've got another village, so hopefully they have potatoes because potatoes are very important for an Irish girl. we finally have our very first potato. Yeah, this is really a big moment in the Let's Play. I'm going to give back a few of the beetroot seeds because yeah, the villagers need to eat as well. So there is a jungle straight ahead, so I guess we're gonna be able to see what the new bamboo wood looks like.
Nice.
Right behind the jungle, there was a lukewarm ocean, so I had a look for some ruins. So I've got to be careful because there are some drowned guarding them. Oh my god, I'm out of here. There's actually 3 trident guys. So now I have to find suspicious sand. So I think that is it. So now we can brush it. Hay is not what I wanted. Oh my god, a sniffer egg. We're gonna get a sniffer, guys. Oh my god, a second sniffer egg. I'm so happy. So sniffer eggs actually hatch much quicker when they're put on a moss block. So as there are some azalea trees around here, I will get a little bit of moss. So yeah, now that we have everything, let's head back. While we're waiting for the sniffer eggs to hatch, I was thinking it's time to build a proper starter house. So I'm gonna start off by chopping down some of the cherry trees in the way. And now I'm going to shape down a few layers of dirt. The sniffers have hatched. Oh my god. They are so adorable. So I don't want anything to happen to them, so I'm gonna put them in like a small enclosure, but it's gonna be temporary. So I've gone through at least 6 shovels, but here is the result. The sniffer has grown up, so he's pretty big now. So guys, I would like you to find a name for both sniffers. As for the allies, I'm gonna name one Jesse and the other Walter. So for the walls of my starter house, I will be needing some wool, some birch logs, and some diorite. I still was missing a bit of wool, so I made a sheep farm, and I also decided to make a sugarcane farm like that I could get to enchanting pretty soon. So here I'm making a staircase connecting the future starter house to the dirt hut because that is where my mine is. Look at that, the sniffer is actually digging up some seeds. I then decided to craft the new 1.20 bookshelves as well as the pots. And to be fair, they are both a great addition to the game. With the help of my allies, I collected some sugarcane, and then I was able to make some bookshelves for enchanting. Oh my god, guys, I've got Fortune 3 as my very first enchantment. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think we're gonna have a full diamond armor in the very first episode because the pickaxe is awesome. I went back down to the cave to get the diamond I had found, and then I had a look around, so I spotted the start of a mine shaft. I also found a geode, but other than that, I couldn't find any more diamonds, so I went back strip mining. I managed to find a vein of diamonds, so I made a diamond axe that I enchanted, and I also used the slime I got to make leads, and I brought up the 2 sniffers. I wanted to make my house mainly out of dark oak and cherry wood, so I sailed back to the dark oak forest to get loads of wood, and I've got to say the allies are really helpful for getting, you know, all the saplings or the logs I might have forgotten. I now have a fair few stacks of dark oak logs, so let's get building that starter house. So we're gonna start off with a large square base, and I'm going to use some dark oak to make pillars all around. For the stone walls, I'm actually going to use a mix between cobblestone, stone bricks, maybe I'll add a bit of andesite and tuff, and this will just give more texture. Now I'm going to fill the entire floor with spruce slabs. To add a bit of extra lighting and detail, I'm going to add windows all around. And then using some stairs and some trapdoors, we can create these really nice little arches. I would really recommend you guys building your starter house on top of a simple base like that because it gives you so much extra space. So now for the actual shape of the house, we're gonna have a main rectangle and then a little square for the entrance. For the walls, as I had mentioned previously, I'm going to use a mix of diorite, wool, and birch. So instead of having, the house all white, for example, we've got a little bit of texture. So now it's time to move on to the roof. So for the outer rim, I'm going to use some dark oak, and I'm going to make the roof quite high and pointy, and at the very top I'm going to add a wall, a fence, and an iron bar. This will actually extend the roof even more, and I think it looks quite nice. Finally, we can fill everything up using some cherry planks. So now that the roof is done, I'm going to fill in the rest of the walls. So yeah, this is what the house looks like for the moment. I think it's a pretty good size for a starter house. I didn't want to make something too big either. And anyway, we have, that base for the house, which will just add plenty of space. For adding a few more details, I was thinking I could put, some flower pots on all the sides, right underneath the windows. As for the roof, I'm going to add a few slabs like this because it will kind of give, different shapes, different levels. And I could also add, a few cherry leaves. It would give a few different color tones. Finally, the exterior is done, so let's move to the inside. So to get from the bottom level to the top, I'm going to build a nice staircase. The bedroom was quite simple. I just made a little table with a flower pot, and then I added some carpets around the bed. Downstairs, I made a little smelting area, for cooking all my stuff. And I also added some shelves with barrels for storage and a few extra decorations. Finally, all I needed to do was arrange the basement. So I have been working for a few hours on the house. So first of all, we've got the downstairs area over here with some crops. And right here, we've got the start of the storage area. And I use some item frames to make it easier to sort out everything. So next, we've got the entrance. So I've used the new pots and the new flowers from the 1.20 update. And I hung up a nice little sign saying Tootsie's home. So this is what the interior looks like for the moment. So I made a little staircase going up, and I've got my bed right here. With these torch flower seeds, I think I could actually breed these guys. Well, I guess I'm going to place down your egg so that you can both take care of it. Oh, and by the way, I need to present my new horse. So I've decided to name her Patches because she's got these really nice white patches everywhere. I'm actually not done with the starter house. I was thinking it could be nice to have a sort of watchtower at the very top. So for the tower, I'm going to be using the same tones as the house. So to build the tower, I need to find the center of the roof. Now I'm going to build a little circle around it. I'm going to build up, and I'm going to leave a space on each side for the windows. So now that the first rim is done, we're actually going to work on the pointy roof that's going to go up in the sky. So yeah, here is the tower on the house. I thought it would be a good idea to have this tower. I feel it really adds something to the overall house. Why is there a sniffer? Oh no, oh my god, it's the baby. Oh my god. Oh my god, I got so confused. I'd like to actually find a camel and also go mining for extra diamonds. Right before I'm gonna do that, I want to make all my animals nice and comfortable, so I'm gonna make each a little enclosure. Let's start by building Patch's stables. So I gave her some wheat and some water, and I also put some item frames with her saddle and her lead. Like that, she doesn't have to wear her saddle while she's in the enclosure. Next, let's move on to the sniffers. So yeah, let's get these big guys in. So now that we're done with the sniffers, let's move on to the llamas. As you can see, I built a small mountain in the enclosure, so now we can get the llamas in. So now we're gonna do a larger enclosure for the cows. And of course, now we can do an enclosure for all the chickens. Yeah, beware guys, I've got my army of chickens. This is great. I was not recording there for over 30 minutes. Perfect. So I also sorted out the sheep. I decided to make an enclosure right next to the house. I thought it would be a good idea. It's time to upgrade my armor to diamonds. So I decided I'm basically gonna mine in a straight line, non-stop, to prove that it's not that hard to find diamonds when you have the right techniques. There were some diamonds here, but then there was a bit of lava flowing, so I have to try and carefully mine it. So right here, I have no choice to turn, even though I've been going straight, because there's some lava, and it's just gonna be too complicated to clear. So yeah, from now on, I'm going to go straight this way. We've got another diamond, and as you can see, we're still in the same corridor. Oh my god, I was not paying attention. I almost lost all my diamonds. Oh my god. Oh wow. Yeah, basically I didn't have any blocks here and I accidentally removed the diamonds from my inventory. Yeah, I am a bit silly sometimes, I have to admit. We're almost at a stack of diamonds, and I hope I managed to prove my point, because I've been mining in a straight line. I only turned twice because of lava. So your best bet is just having a diamond pickaxe with Fortune 3 on it, and Efficiency 4 helps a bit as well. And you just mine straight and then a bit on each side, and that should do the trick. I can promise you, if you do exactly the same as I do, you're gonna find plenty of diamonds in no time. Now it's time to craft the diamond armor. And there we are, guys. Full diamond. I'm also going to make myself a full set of diamond tools. Oh, and we've got infinity for the bow. This is perfect. So guess what we're going to do now? We're going to find a camel. For that, I was thinking we could head back to the jungle because deserts often generate next to them. Oh dear. Now that we're back at the jungle, we're gonna have a look around in the hopes of finding a desert shore. All I could find was this never-ending savanna biome, so I looted a ton of shipwrecks and treasure chests. But finally, after days and days of searching, I found a desert. Oh my god, guys, look what we have here. I cannot wait to see the camel. Oh my god, he's so cute. Oh, look at the ears. So this is our new pet camel. So of course you guys can give a name for the camel as well as the sniffers. How do we ride it? I expect I have to get onto his back. And my imaginary friend can sit behind me if they want. It looks really funny in first person. Oh, and actually, right before we go home, I'm going to take some dead bushes as well as some cacti for making the camel's enclosure. So guys, I was actually following the coordinates to get back home, so I'm taking a totally different way. And guess what? We found a mangrove. I'm really regretting going this way. Yeah, I'm actually better off just swimming. So finally, after all this time, we are back home with the camel. Oh dear. Oh, there you are. So yeah, I took his saddle off so that he can completely relax. I still want to make a nice enclosure for the camel. And there, oh my god. So the camel can walk over fences. Okay, well that is an issue. Yeah, I guess you'll have to stay on a lead for the moment. So sniffers have been added to Minecraft as an extinct mob that the player has to revive. This means that long ago, sniffers used to roam the earth in their very own biome. I have decided to bring the species back and build the long-lost sniffer biome. So first we need to figure out what blocks we can use for the sniffer biome. I was actually thinking we could use the three main colors on the sniffer. So we've got kind of green and blue tints, I would even say turquoise. And then we've got the red and of course the yellow. So we're gonna start off with the green and blue tones. Sniffers seem to like moss pretty well because, for example, when you place an egg on moss, it hatches quicker. So the first green block we're gonna collect is moss. Oh, and right before I forget, we're gonna get looting 3 on the diamond sword because I don't want to accidentally enchant something else. So yeah, time to quickly feed all the animals. Yeah, I've got to admit, I didn't just feed the animals, but I guess we need looting 3. So yeah, I'm just gonna make a second diamond sword and hopefully I will get sharpness 4 or 5 later on. So if you remember well, in the last episode, we found a skeleton spawner. So I was thinking we could turn it into a farm, like that I can get loads of bones for getting plenty of moss. So we've spawned in a warped forest, so this is actually really perfect because I was planning on collecting these blocks for the biome. Oh, and there is actually a crimson forest over there. But yeah, first of all, let's go find some soul sand. Oh my god, no. Well, that was a close call. Well, someone is enjoying the jacuzzi. Now that we've got the soul sand, let's head back to the overworld before I get killed by these guys. Okay, so quite a few endermen have decided to ruin my world with their blocks. I think we've got everything for the farm, so let's head down to the spawner. So we're gonna start off by removing the chests, and now we're gonna dig all around the spawner. So here is the result of the skeleton farm. So I got super lucky because I ended up right next to the staircase that goes back up to the surface. So yeah, now we've got unlimited bones and it's a great XP farm as well. So now time to get some moss. So I'm just gonna turn all these bones into bone meal and then we can place down the moss block and spread it everywhere. So for mining all that moss, I was thinking the best thing would be to make a diamond hoe and enchant it with efficiency 4. So this is really handy because I now have an XP farm, so let's go down there. So now we can collect all this moss. Oh yeah, quick note, I am indeed destroying a place that is near my house, but that's not really a problem because I was planning on building the biome around here, so yeah, it'll be covered up anyway. So we're done with the moss for the moment because anyway, I've got plenty of bone meal if I need some more. For the second type of greenish blue block, we're gonna head over to the Nether. So I was thinking that this block, the warped wart block, which is actually a block that I find quite difficult to pronounce for some reason. But yeah, I was thinking it would look great in the Sniffer biome. So let's get collecting. I actually just remembered the existence of armor trims. So first we need to make a smithing table. Then we can place a smithing template, an item of armor, and then an ore like emerald, copper, iron, etc. So I could have just chosen the same ore for everything, but no, I had to end up looking like a Christmas tree. So let's get back to mining the block I cannot pronounce.
Warp wart block.
During my mining expedition, I had to deal with a few ghasts, and I also noticed that there were loads of endermen in a corner, so I decided to start farming them for the ender dragon fight, and I accidentally hit a pigman yet again. And now we're gonna go get a bunch of leaves. We're done with the first color, so now we can move on to the red. For that, we're gonna go collect nether wart blocks. I really like them because they're already textured and they look a bit like, you know, the red wool on the sniffer's head and legs. Now that we've got a few of these blocks, I'm also going to make some red concrete. So to make it easier to carry everything, I'm gonna go tame a donkey like that I can put a chest on his back. So I think I had seen a donkey nearby, but now I'm not really sure where he was. There he is. For the red dye, we're just gonna get a bunch of these rose bushes and we can just bone meal them and get loads. For the sand, we're just gonna dig up this entire area. So we've got the red dye and we've got the sand. Now all we need is some gravel. Oh, and we've got a bastion right here, so I'll probably explore it later on when I want to upgrade to netherite. Let's craft the concrete powder. We're done with the green, we're done with the red, now we can move on to the yellow. So I was thinking we could make some yellow concrete powder and craft some bamboo planks because they have a yellowy color. Oh, and by the way, I need to choose the names for the sniffers as well as the camel. I actually chose the names that were the most suggested. So this sniffer here is called Bob, and Bob's girlfriend is called Sniffy. As for the camel, I chose a name that goes very well with the adorable little ears. We're actually gonna call him Wiggles. I'm actually gonna take Wiggles so that he accompanies me while I go get loads of flowers. Yeah, I'm not even riding Wiggles. I just like having him with me for company. Next, let's get the bamboo. Oh, and if you've got any name ideas for the donkey, you can leave them in the comments below and I will choose my favorite in the next episode. Okay, so it's time to destroy this lovely bamboo forest to get some yellow blocks. Oh, and it looks like we have a little ocelot friend. And we've got a very happy panda right here. There you go. Yeah, I'm really sorry I'm taking all the bamboo. Yeah, not gonna lie, I know this is just Minecraft, but I'm kind of feeling bad about destroying the natural habitat of these poor animals. And it just reminds me of what actually happens in real life. So yeah, I guess I'm just taking a moment there to raise a bit of awareness, and I'm also gonna put a few facts about that in the video. I continued collecting some bamboo, and I even crafted a bamboo boat to see the new design. My tools were running quite low on health, so I decided to head back home and get mending as soon as possible. So now that we're done with all the colors, we can get to planning out where we're gonna build the biome. I was thinking we could have the biome around here like that. It's close enough to my house and I will actually have a view of, you know, all the sniffers, so I thought that would be nice. We could maybe have like a huge hole in the ground and the biome would be inside. So first we're gonna get rid of all the sugar cane and the crop farm, and then we're gonna get terraforming. Here is the outline of the biome, and now we're just gonna dig everything out on this side and then terraform on that side. So my tools are looking pretty bad, especially my shovel and my sword. So yeah, it's time to get mending there because I'm not gonna be able to finish all that if I don't get it. And now it's time to start placing the lectern and breaking it and placing it again. Yeah, I love this moment. It's just so fun. Okay, so I'm gonna try to not hit you. I'm not very good at that. But please give me a mending book. I've been at it for so long. This is very nice to see. We finally have a mending book. So I managed to get a really good axe, and I'm actually gonna merge them so that I can get efficiency 5. But first, I'd like to get sharpness 4 on my sword that I will merge with my looting 3 sword. Oh, and by the way, guys, if you'd like to waste your levels like me, don't forget to name all your tools. It's very important. Let's put Jerry to work and dig everything up. Maybe I should go and start breeding the sniffers because I'd like to actually populate the sniffer biome later on. I was actually thinking maybe I could do a bit of terraforming on the other side. To incorporate the sniffer biome into the scenery, I started to terraform the side so that it looked as much as possible like a naturally generated hill. Now, I ran into a small issue. For the next part of the video, I have only recorded the images and literally no sound. As I wasn't feeling very good and my mind was preoccupied, I just didn't notice that the sounds in OBS were disconnected. So yeah, it's just great. So I'm going to be spending a lot of extra time redoing the voiceover and recreating an okay audio using sound effects and music, and I really hope that your viewing experience will be alright. Now that we're done digging up all the area where the sniffer biome will be, it's time to work on filling it in. So we're gonna start with the ground, and I was thinking we could use some nether wart blocks. I of course underestimated the amount of red blocks I needed, so I headed back to the nether to get some more, and I realized I could just get some crimson nallium and then bone meal some red mushrooms. Like that I can collect a bunch of wart blocks in the overworld. Okay guys, I was thinking, why not bring down the sniffers so that they can have a look at, their future home and kind of judge me from above. That could be funny. Now let's head back to a super fun activity, mining red blocks non-stop. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving this. It's quite handy having the snippers here because I can just breed them from time to time, and I can gradually get more and more sniffers for the biome. Okay, so now I'm actually gonna get some of the blue blocks and also some yellow blocks, so Mr. Donkey will help me for that. The reason is, I actually realized that, making the ground entirely out of red blocks would just be too red. So we're gonna have the outer rim out of blue turquoise blocks, and then the red, and finally in the center we will have a yellow circle. So for the moment I marked it with a yellow cross. So surprisingly, filling up the floor with red took way more time than I had expected, because of course I wasn't prepared well enough. I mean, this is very typical for me, not gonna lie. So to help me out a bit, I extended, the yellow circle in the center, and I continued mining a bunch of wart blocks again and again and again, and finally I was done with the entire ground of the biome. Oh, and guess what? It looks exactly like a target. Great work, Tootsie. Yeah, I guess if sniffers were professional archers, it would be perfect, but I highly doubt that. I'm starting to get a bit fed up of how slow my hoe is, so we're gonna level up to efficiency 5, like that I can just insta-mine all the blocks. And of course, I want to use up some levels for no reason, so we're gonna name the hoe Betty. This is much better. I'm just gonna get a bunch more blocks in a way shorter time. I'm kind of realizing I should have done this from the start, but oh well, I have done quite a few mistakes in this video and it's probably not going to change in the future. So we're now going to work on the walls of the biome, and I was thinking we could get inspired by the design of the sniffer egg. So we're going to start off with a basic red base using some wart blocks as well as some crimson logs. And now that we're done, we can just go in and dig a few holes and add in some warped wart blocks. This is impossible. But yeah, basically this will mimic all the spots on the side of the sniffer egg. This baby sniffer actually wandered off, so I was thinking I'm actually gonna bring him down to the biome, even though it's not done. Like that, we'll just have, a sniffer wandering about and watching everything I do. That could be funny. Yeah, we're gonna name this little guy Charlie. He's gonna be the very first sniffer in the sniffer biome. This is just a very important moment. Guess what happened at this point? I obviously ran out of blocks yet again, but I'm sure by now you're used to it. So yeah, here is the finished result, guys. It looks a bit crazy for the moment. There's like a lot of colors, but don't worry, it'll get better later on. So yeah, it's meant to look a little bit as though the sniffer biome was inside a sniffer egg shell. Oh, and you know what? Let's go ask Charlie what he thinks of his new home for the moment. Yeah, I'm sure Charlie had something really nice to say because the biome looks beautiful. But yeah, now it's time to move on to a way more interesting part, the decorating and the actual creation, of all the plants and the different things that would be in the sniffer biome. I'm also planning on building a huge sniffer statue in the middle of the biome. So for that, we're actually gonna collect a bit of mangrove wood. Let's have Patches accompany us on that journey. Yeah, I kind of forgot there was a huge ocean separating the mangrove from the mainland. So I'm sorry, Patches, I'm gonna have to leave you here for the moment. Okay, so here is the mangrove biome. I'm not actually gonna chop down loads of wood here. I'm just gonna get a bunch of propagules like that I can grow them back at my base. So the first thing I'm going to add is moss because we all know that sniffers adore moss. So for that, I'm planning on building, little hills made out of moss, and I'm gonna add a few azalea bushes, as well as some of the new flowers that came in the 1.20 update. To merge the hill into the bright colored ground, I decided to add the impossible to pronounce blocks all around. So here is the finished result, and I'm sure that Charlie really enjoys having moss in his biome because for the moment there wasn't much. I then added 4 more of these moss hills all around the outside of the biome. Oh, and I did run out of moss, but I mean, you're on Tootsie's channel, and I'm never prepared, but it's no big deal. I also planted a bunch of the new plants so that I could decorate all the hills with them. Finally, this huge red, blue, and yellow mess looks a little bit more like an actual biome. Now, let's move on to building some custom plants. As the 3 sniffer colors are very bright, I was thinking we could create some custom mushrooms as well as some trees. For making the mushroom stems, I was thinking we could use some quartz because we can make, stairs and slabs out of them, so it's a bit easier for building. And of course, the white stem will contrast a lot with the top of the mushrooms. I'm also getting some gold and glowstone because I'm sure it's gonna come in handy at some point. We're gonna start off the custom plants with huge blue spruce trees, and I will actually be using the same blocks as the warped forest, and later on I'll be making some crimson trees as well. For building the spruce trees, we're gonna start with a stump, and then we're gonna bring it up, and all around I'm gonna place the blocks I hate pronouncing in a sort of star shape, and then I'll add a few random blocks so that it's not too symmetrical. So here is the first tree, and it looks exactly like I wanted it to be, which is perfect. And we're gonna build a second tree on the other side of the biome. Next, we can move on to building the mushrooms. So first of all, I need to turn the yellow and red concrete powder into actual concrete. So we're gonna pile all the way up and jump. Hopefully I won't die. And now we can mine everything. Yeah, I just realized Charlie is all alone in the biome, so we're gonna bring down a second sniffer. We're gonna call this guy Carlos. Now for the stem of the mushroom, I'm basically going to make it a bit rounded so we can place some upside down stairs all around. And now for the top, I'm just gonna use this yellow concrete to make it look as much as a mushroom top. I ended up making it all wonky, so I quickly corrected that. We've got our first mushroom done, so now I'm going to repeat everything over here, and we're gonna do a red mushroom this time. Now for the third mushroom, I want to make it blue, but I also want to make it quite different. So it's going to be quite a tall mushroom, and there's going to be another mushroom sticking out on one side. To make my huge mushrooms even more mushroomy, we're actually going to add a few white dots on top. Slowly, the sniffer biome is looking more and more like an actual biome animals could live in, which is what I was going for, and not just a giant target practice. At that point, Betty wasn't doing too good, so I decided to heal her. Yes, I'm talking about my hoe as if it was a person for some reason, but on the good side, I was able to add protection 4 on my chest plate. So the reason I repaired my hoe was because I'm planning on building some little pathways that go all around the biome. This is good because it's going to blend the very bright yellow center in with the 2 other colors. So yeah, I guess we went from a target over to the sun. I'm not sure it's much better. So we've added all these little custom plants, but the floor is just looking way too flat, way too boring. So I'm going to add a bit of Nalium here and there, and then by bone mealing it, I will basically add loads of small plants on the ground. So it will look way more like we've got some proper blue and red grass. Okay, so I think we're done with the grass. As you can see, it looks way more natural like that, which is perfect. Right before we're gonna build the huge sniffer statue, I'd like to build a huge sniffer egg. For the block palette, I will be using red and green concrete, but the problem is I've got no green dye, and the desert is like 4,000 blocks away. But I guess we don't really have a choice, so off we go on a super long and boring journey. Yeah, this is so fun. Finally, we're at the desert, so let's get some cactus. Oh, actually I will get a bit of sand as well for making the concrete powder. And now let's do the entire journey back home again. Now that we're back, I'm just gonna pop the cactus inside a furnace to get loads of green dye. So all we have to do is pile everything up above the ocean and then we can mine everything. Let's get building. So this is actually not a very difficult build. It's just basically a huge 3D rectangle, and I'm actually just copying the real egg because it just makes it easier to know where to put the green spots. Finally, I've got the game sounds back in and we can hear me as well, which is quite nice. So as you can see, I left a gap right here because we're gonna build a sniffer statue. So for that, I'm going to get my 3 main colored blocks, but also some darker ones for the sniffer's toes. So we're almost done with the palette for the sniffer statue, but I will chop down a few more mangrove logs because we will be needing quite a few. So we're gonna start off by tracing out the outline of the future sniffer statue. So we're gonna start the first leg around here. And I'm actually going to have to destroy this mushroom because, yeah, the sniffer is going to have a bit of a weird face otherwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we can mirror the first side onto the second one. Now I'm just gonna check the statue's size just to make sure it'll fit well in the biome. Yeah, I think that's a good size. Like, the sniffer isn't too big to overpower the biome, but we can still see him pretty well. Step 2 is basically building everything up. Now we can work a bit on the beak. So yeah, off we go, piling up again. So I'm gonna build the beak by basically using yellow concrete, and then I will also add a line for the mouth using some spruce. And for the nostrils, I will use a mix of spruce and oak wood. Now that we're done with the head as well as the body, we just need to add, you know, that sort of green wool on top of the sniffer. So I was thinking we could use a mix of moss as well as leaves. Okay, great. I actually needed to bring the top out a little bit. So yeah, we're gonna have to destroy and rebuild everything. So now that we're done filling the top with leaves, we're gonna merge, that bottom red part with the upper part. Oh, and by the way, for the inside area, I was thinking I would make it nice and comfortable for the sniffers. It could kind of be their shelter, for example, when it's raining and they want to come in. As for this side right here, I'm actually going to extend the red and turquoise pattern a bit to make like a path, and I will also build custom crimson trees kind of growing out of the top of the biome. I was thinking we could bring the sniffers down to the biome, and I'm also going to place 2 eggs on top of the sniffer statue like that. There's going to be like sniffers walking on top of it. The sniffers already have a wide variety of food, but I will give them some extra water. I spent the entire episode repairing my hoe with diamonds, but yeah, I think we're done with that, so I'm gonna head over to the village, and I'm finally going to get mending on my hoe. As I don't have many red blocks left, I'm quickly gonna pop back into the nether for like the 100th time this episode to get loads of wart blocks. I'm actually also going to add some cherry blossom trees to decorate all the outside of the biome as if it was inside the cherry blossom forest. And I was thinking we could maybe plant some bamboo all around the biome. I just think it would look a bit more wild and natural. On that note, let's get back to building a few more red trees. As you can see, I'm making the tree trunk a bit more slanted to the side, and then I'm adding some wart blocks all around, a little bit randomly and a little bit precisely, just to get a nice natural shape and not make it look too symmetrical. Finally, we are done building all the trees, and it really makes it look that much more awesome. As you can see, I added some of the new flowers as well as some cherry blossom leaves because it gives a bit more contrast. Now, the last things I want to add is a little bit more vegetation on the upper part of the biome, so we're definitely gonna add some mushrooms next to the red trees. And of course, I will be using the same 3 colors, so we're gonna have yellow mushrooms, red ones, and blue ones. We are finally done with the sniffer biome. It looks really vibrant and really awesome, and I know that the sniffers are gonna live super well in it. At this point, I realized that with all the big building projects I had in mind, it would be really useful to build every automatic farm in Minecraft. So the very first farm we're going to build is the villager breeder. The only problem is the closest village is almost 1,000 blocks away, so yeah, it's gonna be fun. So now I'm just gonna craft myself some pistons and a boat, and it's time to bring back 2 villagers. Yeah, this is going to take ages. So we finally have the 2 villagers back at base, and on top of that, my world is now beautifully decorated. So I was thinking we could build a farm around here, so let's get collecting all the materials. Now that we've got all the materials, let's move on to the building. As you can see, the villager breeder is done and it's working pretty well. So next, we're going to work on the sugarcane farm. Keep in mind that straight after building the sugarcane farm, I'm actually gonna go fight the Ender Dragon. Like that, I will have, plenty of sugarcane to make fireworks once I have the elytra. So yeah, let's go ahead and get all the materials. Yeah, of course, I don't have any iron, so let's go get some. So now that we've got all the materials, let's start building the sugarcane farm. Okay, so we're done with the sugarcane farm. Now, I might add an extra layer later on in case I need more sugarcane, but this will do fine for the moment. So now, for a bit of fun, let's prepare for the Ender Dragon fight. So first, I actually need to find a nether fortress. Yes, I haven't found one yet. So yeah, it would be good to find one because we're not going to go very far otherwise. It took a bit of time, but finally I found the nether fortress. So yeah, let's go collect some blaze rods and nether warts. So next we're gonna focus on preparing for the fight by brewing some potions and enchanting my stuff. The stronghold seems to be in this direction, so what we're gonna do is head into the nether so that we can travel a bit quicker. Once I'd found the stronghold, it was time for a bit of exploring. I guess it's time for the big fight. Okay, so now let's go get the elytra. Okay, so we finally have the elytra. It's gonna make things much easier. Oh yeah, and we're just gonna add a little decoration to the house. I quickly crafted all the items I needed, and then it was time to build the carrot farm. To start off, I chopped down some trees to clear the area, and then I started building the farm. The last step was to bring the two villagers in, so I managed fine for the two farmers, but I struggled a bit with the Fletcher, who clearly wanted to explore the world instead of being crammed up in a tiny space. Okay, so we've got 3 farms done, only 27 to go. Great. So I was thinking, as we have the sugarcane farm already built, it would make sense to build a creeper farm. Like that, I will have gunpowder as well as sugarcane for making fireworks. Once I had all the materials, I headed out to find a deep ocean so that the farm would be as efficient as possible, and I started the construction. farm was almost done, but I realized that my elytra had ran out of health, so I traded with some villagers to get mending. I also managed to get power 4 on a second bow, so I merged it with my current bow to get power 5. Finally, I headed back to the creeper farm to AFK for a bit, and there we have it, unlimited gunpowder. Next, let's work on the Enderman farm. So first we'll be needing some leaves, as well as some lava. And like literally every single farm in this video, we will also need more hoppers. Last but not least, for the building location, we will obviously head over to the end. Oh, and guess what? I forgot to put a name on the name tags, so I wasted time going home just for that. Now, the Enderman farm isn't too difficult to build, but somehow I always struggle with this part. Yeah, thankfully I had my elytra on. This next part took a bit more time than expected because I couldn't get an endermite from 2 stacks of ender pearls, but basically once the endermite spawns, you put it in a minecart with a name tag on, and all the endermen that spawn on the platform will run towards it to kill it and fall down to the bottom. Honestly, this has to be one of the most satisfying farms to use. So now I was thinking of doing a pretty basic farm. The chicken farm. Yeah, and actually all my chickens have run free because I think an enderman put a block right here, so yeah. But that's not an issue because these poor little guys are gonna be put into a farm, so they might as well enjoy their freedom for a bit. So honestly, the materials for this farm were pretty straightforward considering it is one of the smallest farms we'll be doing, so soon enough I was already building. And finally, I brought some of the runaway chickens inside for the farm to start working. Basically, when the chickens lay eggs, the eggs are hatched, and when the babies grow up, they get burnt in the lava. I mean, what a lovely life. The next farm we're going to build is the iron farm. So this farm requires quite a few materials, but the trickiest to get are the name tags for preventing the zombies from despawning. The best solution I found was to trade with a librarian until he would sell me name tags against emeralds. Once I had everything, I started clearing out the area on the side of my house for the farm, and finally, it was time to start building. Once the main structure was complete, I moved on to the next step. Basically, on each of the 4 parts of the farm, there will be a zombie in the center and 2 boxes of scared villagers on each side, which will make the iron golems spawn. The last part is to bring up everyone, so 24 villagers and 4 zombies in total. This part was extremely time consuming, and guess what? I ran out of villagers. To not waste too much time, I decided I would build a honey farm while I waited for more villagers to fill the villager breeder. So for the honey farm, I went to collect some extra redstone, I crafted the items I needed, and I started building. Once the build was done, I finally had enough villagers in the breeder, so yeah, I spent quite a bit of time bringing all the villagers over and then up into the farm, as well as 2 extra zombies. Finally, after a couple hours, the iron farm was done, and honestly it was worth making it this big because it was extremely efficient. Now, the bee farm was complete, but it was still missing something quite important: the bees. So first I set to work collecting bee nests in the flower forest, and then I released the bees and bred them so that I could get 3 bees in each hive. I then placed down the beehives in the farm, and of course I had to do that during the day, so it was really tricky, but I managed, and yeah, we're done with the honey farm. Next, let's move on to the cactus farm. So this farm mainly requires sand, glass, fences, and, well, obviously some cactus. Honestly, this farm is pretty straightforward to build, which is nice after the enormous amount of time the iron farm took me. Now let's move on to the flower farm, which isn't too complicated either. I started crafting the items I needed, but I quickly ran out of redstone, so I went to do a bit of caving to stock up. Now all we need to do is clear an area for the farm and start building. For this farm to work, you basically put some bone meal in the chest, and then you press on the 2 note blocks, and there we have it. Now, for a slightly larger farm, we're going to build the slime farm. I'm building it quite early, partly because I'll be needing some slime for making the sand duper later on, for example. So first, let's head over to the mangrove to start clearing out a 45 by 45 area. So now that the area is all cleared, let's get on with the building. We're done with the collection system, so now we can move on to the spawning area right above. Oh, and of course I forgot to get magma blocks, so just give me one moment. I then spawned an iron golem in the center of the platform to kill all the slimes, and finally I used some cobblestone to build the walls and ceiling. Okay, so now we're just gonna build up to make the AFK platform, and we can just let the farm do its magic. Next, we've got the wool farm, and this farm is literally so simple that we're not gonna waste any time on it. Yep, that was quick. The next farm is really handy for stocking up on sticks, wood, and for crafting scaffoldings. I am obviously talking about the bamboo farm. For the farm, I built a collection system at the bottom with some powered rails and a minecart, and then the bamboo above will be harvested by some pistons linked to some observers that basically detect when the bamboo has grown high enough. Next, we're gonna do the mob farm, which is actually the very first farm I learned how to build due to its simplicity and the large amount of useful loot you get from it. So yeah, the main material we'll be needing for this farm is cobblestone, and a lot of it. Now let's get unlimited fuel by building the lava farm. Okay, so let's get back to it. Now we have a little issue. Basically, we need to find some dripstone for the farm, but I still haven't found any, so it's time for a bit of exploring. So now we need to craft a ton of cauldrons. And of course, we'll need plenty of lava. Now that the farm is complete, basically I need to AFK by right-clicking non-stop with a bucket in my hand. So farm 16 is going to be the sand duper, which is an awesome farm because it can duplicate sand, gravel, and even concrete powder, which will be a huge help for future building projects. So first we have to get rid of the portal blocks, so we can easily do that by growing a mushroom underneath them. Then we can make this little redstone contraption and add some slime blocks, and finally on top we can place the sand. For this farm to work, I also need to build a little mechanism that keeps this chunk loaded. So I actually got it wrong because when I went into the nether, it wasn't actually facing in the same direction. But yeah, after a bit of time, I finally figured it out. The last step is simply to build the collection system over in the end. And there we have it, literally all the sand we could ever want. Let's move on to a much more complicated and fairly dangerous farm, the Wither Skeleton Farm. Step 1, we need to head into the nether to find a nether fortress in a soul sand biome. Step 2, let's collect a bunch of nether bricks. And finally, step 3, let's get on with the building. To make things easier, I actually brewed some invisibility and fire resistance potions to be a bit less bothered by ghasts and blazes, even though I won't be fully invisible as I'm still wearing my armor and my elytra, but yeah, I'd rather be a bit protected. This farm is really long to do because you have to build stuff in the nether, on the nether roof, and also in the overworld. But yeah, honestly, when you start getting some wither skulls, it really makes it all worth it. And now let's have a drum roll for the most useful farm in the video, the mud farm. Honestly, I'm really building this farm for the sake of the video because I doubt I will ever use it, but yeah, let's get on with it. Very useful farm right here. So farm 19 is going to be a combo of melons and pumpkins. After gathering up all the materials I needed, I started out by digging a large square where I was going to put some rails and a minecart for creating the collection system. On the layer above, I planted some pumpkin and melon seeds, and finally on the very top layer are the observers and pistons for harvesting the fully grown crops. Now, for the leather farm, I was wondering if I should use cows or hoglins, but the only way to make it fully AFKable is to do it with hoglins, so that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, I'm not sure AFKable is a word, but we're gonna use it. So first we need to head up to the nether roof, making sure to be in a crimson forest biome. So this farm is made up of a spawning platform with warped fungus on the sides that will scare the hoglins and make them run straight into the lava pit. Yeah, I kind of forgot to remove some building blocks, so the hoglins were running everywhere, but yeah, I quickly sorted that out and it's all good. So next on the list is the string farm. Okay, so this is quite ridiculous, but after building all these farms, I was like, okay, Tootsie, you've got to have a go at building your own farm. So yeah, this is the Tootsie made AFK spider farm, and I can promise you it has been ranked the worst farm ever. But at least I gave it a go. Yeah, I mean, the ratio of the time it took me to build the farm, the amount of materials I used, and the efficiency of the farm, it's pretty bad. After this beautiful fail, let's move on to a very big farm that requires a ton of magma blocks, the gold farm. Now that I've removed every single block of magma from my world, let's move on to the building. So first we're gonna make a collection system where all the pigmen are going to fall. So then in the center we have to create a lure by using some turtle eggs because the pigmen want to break them and they will automatically fall down to the bottom. Finally, we can build 4 large spawning platforms, and I had ghasts constantly spawning, which was super annoying. But to prevent that, I made this pattern out of glass at the very top, which would actually prevent them from spawning. Next is the raid farm, so let's quickly gather up all the materials we need, and actually we're also going to empty the iron farm chests because they are getting a tiny bit overloaded. So yeah, this farm isn't too difficult to build, especially in comparison to the incredible loot you get from it, and I'd say the only annoying part is bringing over the villager, but even that isn't too bad because you can quickly bring him over in a boat. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you guys building this farm in your world to get loads of emeralds and totems of undying. Now we're going to go farm some wither skeletons because for building a wither rose farm, we actually need to spawn the wither. I've got all the materials I need in my shulker boxes, so let's head over to the end. The first step is to remove the portal block, and then we can start building the area for the chicken that will keep the wither distracted. The next part is quite similar to the Enderman farm because we basically have to build a huge spawning platform and add a silverfish in the center. And we're gonna name this little guy Blubby Dub. Yes, I know I have great inspiration for names. Finally, for the scary part, we have to spawn the wither, and we're using water to block the impact of the first explosion. Next, we can remove this block so that the wither attacks the chicken, and all we need to do now is spawn-proof a bit the area and AFK. Next, we've got the blaze farm. For that, we'll be needing some glass, so it's really handy to have the sand duper. What we've got to do is basically fly over to the nether fortress, and then we have to dig up the area underneath the blaze spawner and build a type of box made out of glass. I kept being bothered by blazes more and more, so I headed back to base to brew a few potions of fire resistance. Okay, I admit, I also used some invisibility potions again, even though I kept my armor on. Please don't be angry at me. At that point, I needed to make the farming area and place down some lava buckets, so I thought it would be a good idea to go in with the blazes, but yeah, it wasn't. So I placed the rest of the lava from the outside. Farm 26 is the witch farm. The only problem I have is I only found a tiny swamp near the mangrove with no witch huts. So yeah, time for a bit of laggy exploring. Okay, we have finally found a swamp. Yeah, you're not funny, Tootsie. This is more like it. I spotted a witch hut in the distance, so I went over to kill the witch that had spawned, and it was finally time to start the building process. Well, that was pretty quick. Nah, just kidding. Here's the full build. So basically, I placed all these tripwire hooks attached to string, and as soon as a witch spawns, she gets flushed by the water, and I can collect the awesome loot. Now, for one of the most complex farms of the video, we've got the tree farm. So we'll be needing some slime as well as some redstone. And yeah, I've got to say, having all these farms is so handy. Oh, and actually you can see how annoying this farm is going to be to build by the amount of pistons we need to craft. Where should we build the tree farm? In a forest, obviously. So here I noticed I went wrong, so I had to destroy and rebuild this entire part, which was pretty fun, as you can imagine. Now, my thoughts on this farm is that it may be super long and complex to build, but wow, it is so worth it. I guess I won't have to chop down a tree ever again in this world. The smelting farm is going to be the last relaxing one to build because next is the Guardian and the shulker farms, and oh my, I am not looking forward to building them. So yeah, let's fully enjoy the relaxing building process, and in French we call that le calme avant la tempête. Well, as I said previously, we're now going to do the Guardian farm. So first, let's craft and collect all the materials we need. This farm can be quite tricky to make because you get attacked from everywhere, and on top of that, you get mining fatigue from the Elder Guardians. Thankfully, I've got some potions to help me, so yeah, let's go kill the 3 Elder Guardians. From now on, we won't get mining fatigue anymore, so we can start working on the large portal frame in the center of the farm. On either side of the portal, we have to make 2 temporary platforms that will enable us to place a bunch of fence gates and water sources that will basically push all the guardians into the nether. To actually bring the guardians to the surface, we will also need to cover the top of the monument with soul sand. Finally, we can build a collection system in the nether underneath the portal. Okay, so now it's time to AFK, so I'll just remove the temporary platforms and the farm is in action. Yeah, if anyone needs prismarine shards, I've got a ton and I have no clue what to do with them. We have finally reached the last farm of the video, the shulker farm. So I've got everything for building it, except I'll be needing to craft lots of scaffoldings. So let's head down to the spider farm to AFK. Okay, so we've got all the scaffoldings crafted, and we just need to craft a bunch of extra slabs, and yeah, let's head over to the end islands. So I need to build a farm near an end city to make it easier to bring a shulker at the end. Right here is perfect, so let's get on with it. So as you can see, the farm is done, but I just need to pop back into the overworld to get some rails because we need to build a railway to bring over the shulker. Once the shulker was in the minecart, he traveled over to the farm and was dropped by an activator rail, so all I had to do now was wait for him to teleport to the center of the farm. So as you can see, the shulker is in the right place, and we just need to activate this lever, and there we have it. The shulker farm is finally done, and I can craft all the shulker boxes I could ever need. We're going to build a zoo for the rare mobs in Minecraft. I'd like to point out that I haven't found any of them yet, and this video took me an entire month to record and several weeks of editing. So yeah, this is a really big project. On top of getting all the mobs, we'll be building proper enclosures, each having specific themes to give a nice contrast throughout the zoo. By the way, I will be posting some more pictures of all the builds on my Instagram in case you guys are interested. All that said, let's dive straight in. So first we need to find a place to build a rare creatures zoo. We've got this area down here that could be great, but it needs a bit of flattening out, as you can see. At least it gives us an opportunity to remove this hideous thing from the last episode. So yeah, it's always nice to start a video with very entertaining terraforming. Yeah, I've just realized this would be much faster if I had a beacon nearby, so just give me a sec to kill the wither. I'm actually going to make the most of being in the end to repair all my tools. Okay, there we have it, the beacon fully built. Oh wait, I still need to get efficiency 5. Okay, now we're talking. Sadly, I soon realized that my light hill shaving wasn't having a drastic effect on the terrain. So it was time to go from mining blocks to placing blocks, one by one, for hours. Well, that was 5 hours of placing grass blocks in 1 minute. A very fulfilling experience, obviously. So the first mob we're doing, wait a minute. So the first mob we're doing is the brown mushroom cow. So for that we'll need a red mushroom, a trident, and some lightning. First we're gonna focus on getting a trident. And for that we'll be needing a few water breathing and night vision potions. Next, let's head over to the river biome. Yes, the river, not the ocean, because apparently drowned have a higher spawn rate in rivers. So yeah, time for a bit of drowned hunting, guys. Okay, so rookie mistake, I somehow managed to throw my sword. Yeah, I know, on the noob chart I am below 0. But yeah, I awkwardly made my way over to it, I killed the trident guy, and I got the trident. So that was really pathetic, but awesome at the same time. Now it's time to head home. Yeah, with the elytra on it works a bit better. Except when your elytra is out of health. Perfect. Now that we've got the trident, I need to put channeling on it for conducting the lightning towards the mushroom cow. So after breaking and placing the lectern a million times, I ended up getting loyalty 3, so I couldn't resist buying the enchanted book. Yeah, it was very strange, but the villagers somehow disappeared, so yeah, let's go get a new one. So this time we're not stopping until we get channeling. Wow, that was long, but we finally have it. So I put loyalty 3, channeling, as well as mending to have a really OP trident. Okay, so we've got everything ready, so let's head over to the Mushroom Island to get 2 mushroom cows. Yeah, I actually forgot to get all the stuff for the enclosure, so time to head back to the island to get loads of mycelium blocks and mushrooms. So my plan for this zoo is making all the enclosures relatively different, so different sizes on different levels. So for the mushroom cow, the enclosure will actually be in the ground. So I started digging out the area with my pickaxe and I quickly got fed up, so I tried using TNT. But the area simply started looking like French cheese. Yeah, I'm not sure that's what I was going for. But yeah, no worries, with the help of Haste 2, I quickly cleared out the area, and then I placed a bunch of mycelium blocks all over the ground. For the centerpiece of this enclosure, we are obviously going to do a huge mushroom. So I used a bunch of red mushroom and stem blocks, and hanging on the sides all around, I decided to place some lanterns attached to chains that would basically light up the area. I also built a tall brown mushroom, adding a bit of spruce from my wood farm to contrast with the brown mushroom blocks. Finally, I made a bunch of smaller mushrooms with different shapes and sizes to fill up the habitat. To give a slightly more natural look to the ground, I went ahead and placed down some nether roots, and I also got some amethyst blocks and crystals for decorating a small pond on one side of the biome. Finally, we're gonna add a bit of greenery by spreading some moss and also placing some leaves here and there. Now, for the walls around the enclosure, I went to get some vines at the swamp biome to add a bit of detail by mixing different types of stone blocks and mossy blocks. So guys, we've got a thunderstorm going on, so it's time to transform this cow. Yeah, I'm actually going to turn a second one as well so that we can breed them. And there we have it. We can tick the first rare mob off our list. This is actually the first time I see a brown mushroom cow in my world, so yeah, I guess it's pretty cool. So just before moving on to the next mob, we need to finish off the walls and make a path all around. We've got the brown mushroom cow in the zoo, and the enclosure is looking quite nice and mystical, which is perfect. So now let's go big straight away, because the second mob on our list is the blue axolotl. Yeah, let's be realistic guys, this mob is going to take ages to get. So let's start off by tracing out the outline for the enclosure. Yep, I have no clue what shape I was going for, but as I said previously, I think it could be more fun if every enclosure had a unique shape, rather than having everything identical. Now we've got to find 2 axolotls to start the endless breeding that awaits us. Okay, perfect, we've got one right here. Now we just need to find a second one. There's a ton of tropical fish here, so as I'm looking for a second axolotl, I could just start catching some in buckets, buckets for breeding later on. Yeah, there's a yellow one down here, guys. Okay, I'm confused. I have no clue where he went. Oh, awesome. There's one here, and he's pink as well, so that's really perfect. Let's make a pond for the two little guys. Okay, so now all we have to do is regularly give them some tropical fish and hope for the best. While we're waiting for the baby axolotls to grow, let's go fill a bunch of shulker boxes with tropical fish. So here I wanted to use some deep slate for the enclosure, and smart as I am, I thought you could insta-mine deep slate if you had efficiency 5 on a netherite pickaxe. So off Tootsie went to mine for ancient debris. Thankfully I didn't lose too much time because I had unlimited TNT thanks to my sand and gunpowder farms. Once I had collected the ancient debris, I realized you now need to get a netherite upgrade template from a bastion. Don't worry guys, I had a few tricks up my sleeve. I simply flew down to the very bottom of the bastion and safely made my way through the walls until I reached the chests, and I looted them without too much difficulty. But yeah, in the end, I did all that for no reason because you cannot insta-mine deep slate. Well, on the good side, I now have a netherite pickaxe, but I still look like an idiot. Although by now I'm used to it, to be fair. So my idea for the blue axolotl habitat is having a lush and overgrown pond entirely surrounded by deep slate. So first let's work on building the deep slate crust. And yes, I could have just mined the deep slate like this from the start, but oh well, smart Tootsie moves are my specialty. So we're done with the outer part, and the axolotl population is slowly growing, but no blue axolotls yet. Now we can move on to the overgrown pond in the center, so for that, let's head back to the lush cave to collect a bunch of clay and decorative plants. Let's start by spreading some moss around the edges. Oh, and don't worry, I have been relentlessly breeding the axolotls on the side. We almost have a proper Tootsie army by now. Next, let's work on the pond area. So similarly to naturally generating lush caves, the pond will actually be separated into loads of little ponds, and we'll have a slightly higher pond in the middle to play with the levels a bit. Now that all the main features are complete, it's time to focus on decorating. So I added a bunch of drip leaves, flowers, bamboo, sugarcane, etc. And I also headed back to the coral reef I'd spotted in episode 1 to collect some coral fans. And we're basically going to use them to make some colorful water lilies. I really think it adds a lot to the enclosure. After taking care of my small army, I started adding some lampposts on the sides of the path to light up the zoo and prevent unwanted mobs from spawning. So we're finally done with the blue axolotl enclosure, and as the deep slate is quite high, I built a staircase with a little balcony at the top to look down upon the biome. I also made this little area inside the deep slate crust to be able to look at the axolotls from lower down, and I even incorporated this feature in the brown mushroom cow enclosure to make it a bit more fun. At that point, everything was ready. But I was still missing the star of the show. If some of you guys were wondering why this video took so long to post, it's because getting the blue axolotl took me about 4 days of just breeding. And I don't mean 4 Minecraft days. 4 actual real-life days. But yeah, after doing, I'd say, one of the most time-consuming and redundant things in Minecraft, I got the little guy, and oh my, I was delighted. So yeah, we are finally done with the blue axolotl, and I really hope I will never need to get one ever again. For getting the brown panda, I first had to look for one that spawned naturally. But yeah, we're not getting that lucky, guys. We have to resolve to the long method, breeding. So to start off, we're gonna build a tunnel in the nether, connecting the jungle to my base. Yeah, I've just found this sick panda right here, and I saw online that the best thing for getting a brown panda is breeding weak pandas together until you get normal babies that basically have a high chance of having the brown gene. Okay, so let's get these guys back. And now, we've got to start the never-ending breeding process all over again. As this is obviously going to take ages, we might as well start working on the enclosure at the same time. As you can see, I made the terrain on 2 layers, and there is actually a little entrance here so that the brown panda will have a little cave for shelter when it rains. As the theme for the brown panda habitat is going to be a cherry blossom forest, let's start collecting a bunch of cherry leaves. Okay, we've got our very first normal baby, so let's separate him from the rest. Yeah, guys, I'm not really sure what to do with the pink axolotl army, so I think I'm just gonna lure some in the blue axolotl enclosure, like that they can just swim around. I quickly went to breed all the pandas again, and then I started working on the walls. So we're gonna mix some cherry logs with stone, and a great way for adding more detail is mixing cobblestone and mossy cobblestone into the stone bricks. So I made this little path going up to the higher parts of the habitat, and to be able to see the pandas, we're going to add some glass all around, as well as some lampposts for extra lighting. I like having a feature that sticks out over the rest in each enclosure, so for the panda, we're going to build a huge cherry blossom tree. Okay, so we're done with the tree. So here is the real finished result, and now we're gonna add a bunch of normal cherry trees all around with lanterns hanging from the branches. Let's dress up the ground a bit with some bamboo, and we can also shovel down the grass to create a sort of path. For the entrance of the cave, I was thinking we could cover it with some stone blocks for the time being. Yeah, part of the panda cave will be a bit ruined because I'm planning on making a little pond with the water streaming down the hill. Once I was done with the pond, I went over to the jungle to collect some leaves as well as ferns to create some bushes and add a bit of vegetation everywhere. Yeah, we're done with the habitat, but the issue is we still don't have a brown panda to put inside. So instead of just waiting, we can start looking for goats because the next rare mob on our list is the screaming goat. So here we've got a snowy mountain peak. Now I'm just gonna raise the friendly mob sounds and hope for the best. Yeah, we're not lucky at all in this episode. There aren't any naturally spawned screaming goats around, so we need to bring the goats through the nether and back at base. Whoops! I think we lost the 2 babies. Oh well. We've got the breeding pen sorted for the goats, and still no baby brown panda in sight. So let's just go ahead and collect a ton of snow for the screaming goat enclosure. You might have guessed what we'll be building here. A snowy mountain, of course. So we'll have a very tall one in the center and 2 smaller ones on each side. I was gradually getting more and more normal baby pandas, which increased the chance of having some with the brown gene, so I regularly brought them over to the separate pen. The 2 breeding pens were really starting to get crammed, but as I was feeding the goats, I heard one that sounded a tiny bit different. Oh my god, guys, we have the screaming goat. The only problem is, how am I supposed to figure out which one it is? Yeah, guys, it's time for mission screaming goat. So we're gonna separate the pen into 3 different parts and then gradually remove the goats in the areas away from the screaming goat sounds. So the mountains are done, and now I'm planning on building like a cool little goat house at the very top. So for the block palette, I will first be using some spruce because I've got a ton from the wood farm, and we'll be using that to make the main beams as well as the floor. For the walls, let's use some calcite because I think it's going to contrast well with the darkness of the spruce, and also it fits perfectly with the snowy theme. And finally, for the roof, we're going to contrast drastically once again because it's going to be turquoise. And here, let's make a cute little goat head to decorate the roof. And yeah, now there is no doubt that this is the screaming goat's new home. I worked a little bit on the inside floor and added a cauldron as well as some hay. At the bottom of the mountain, I bone mealed the ground a bit, I added some ferns and bushes, and finally, I also grew some spruce trees here and there. Okay, which one of you guys is the screaming goat? I think it's you. Yeah, you're gonna see I made you a very cute little barn, and it even has your face on it, so how cool is that? For the remaining goats, I made sure to attach them with leads, or else they would instantly jump over the walls. So yeah, the screaming goat can be ticked off our list as well. Oh, and another great thing, I finally got a baby brown panda. I bought the little guy down in a boat, and it was actually quite funny. And I welcomed him to his peaceful sanctuary, where he immediately started playing around, which was pretty adorable. As you can see behind me, the zoo is slowly starting to take shape, which is pretty nice. So what's the next mob on our list? The zombified hoglin. So basically hoglins are naturally afraid of portals, so this is why we don't see them running around in the overworld, causing chaos, and thankfully. We're gonna build the enclosure here, so let's quickly get some blackstone from the bastion. For all the crimson and netherrack blocks, I still have plenty left from when I was building the sniffer biome, so let's get straight to work. Now that the floor is done, let's work on the details. A bit like for the goats, the zombified hoglins will have their very own nether-themed barn, so I'm making a part of the terrain a few blocks higher than the rest, so that the barn will be a bit more visible. Yeah, I was thinking, rather than having a completely flat crimson forest, I'm going to add some netherrack spikes sticking out of the ground. Now let's move on to building the hoglin barn, and the build is from Mr. Mirror. So yeah, here is the barn all done, and I think it looks super cool with the roots and mushrooms growing on the roof. And for the inside, we're just gonna add some feeding troughs with nether warts in them. So especially this enclosure will have 2 main features instead of just one, because on top of having the barn, we're also going to build a large crimson tree. Now that we're done with the large tree, let's go ahead and grow some extra crimson mushrooms to give that vibrant crimson forest look. And the last step is to build a black stone wall all around. And I'm gonna make sure that it's high enough because we don't want to have some zoglins running loose and killing the other rare mobs, because that would be quite terrible. Okay, so that's another enclosure done. As you can see, I built a little staircase with a bridge so that we'll be able to see the hoglins from above without getting attacked by them. Now it's time to get a hoglin. Okay, so I've made a little staircase going up to the portal, so time to head over to the Crimson Forest. This is actually not the first time I've brought a hoglin back to the overworld, but I have to admit I'm still not completely serene doing so. As you can see, she does not want to go near the portal, so I'm going to use a lead to help her go through. Now that the zombified hoglin is done, let's move on to the pink sheep. Yeah, I got super lucky, guys, and I found this pink sheep in my world. Okay, I admit I just dyed a sheep pink. But you know what? Let's pretend it didn't happen. So I'm realizing that the area we have is a little bit too small, so let's terraform a bit. Similarly to the brown mushroom, the habitat will be lower in the ground, with the hill sloping down, and at the very bottom, we're probably gonna put a pond or a river. I'm planning on making a very pink forest, so all the trees will be custom, and for the trunk, we'll be using some birch. And as for the leaves, we'll be using a mix of pink wool from the sheep farm, and some cherry leaves as well for a bit of texture. Here is the finished result of the pink forest. It almost looks a bit too vibrant, but I guess it'll fit perfectly with its inhabitant. Now let's go ahead and add loads of grass and pink flowers. So while I was working on decorating the pond, there was a thunderstorm, so I decided not to sleep through it in case a skeleton horse would spawn. The next morning, I was out collecting some flowers, and And I spotted a skeleton horse that had basically spawned during the night. So yeah, I guess we've got our next rare mob. I really didn't want the horse to despawn, so I quickly went to get a name tag of my villager, and then it was time to kill the 4 skeleton riders. Okay, we managed to get this guy, and we're gonna name you Sean. Oh, there's actually another rider left, so let's go ahead and try getting a second horse. I really don't want you to despawn, so you're coming with me so that we can get you a name tag. There we have it. We've got Mr. Sean and Mr. Seamus, the 2 skeleton horses, and we will of course be doing their home next. As you can see, the pink sheep enclosure is all done, so let's get you some extra friends. Yeah guys, my luck is incredible. I have just found 3 naturally spawned pink sheep, so we're gonna bring them over to the enclosure as well. Just before we move on, let's have a quick tour. So basically we can go down this little staircase and through this door because this is a walk-in enclosure, and we've got this little path that leads us over a bridge and down along the river. Oh, and I also added this little room for looking in as well. Guys, I think I may have forgotten to put a name tag on the Zoglin. So yeah, it's time for a bit of extra fun. These 2 big girls are gonna be called Karen and Rebecca. And yeah, I forgot to get an extra name tag for the baby, but no big deal. Yeah, I'm bringing these guys on a VIP tour of the zoo, even though it's not finished. Yeah, I hope you like this little plot of land because that's where you'll be living from now on. The theme for this enclosure will either be a hit or a miss, because we're gonna do a swampy graveyard, and the horse stables will look a bit like a church, so yeah, it's going to be rather interesting, and definitely not the typical enclosure you'd see in a zoo. Once the church was fully built, I added some hay bales inside to give more of a barn feel, and finally I added plenty of large ferns. I wanted to add some trees, so I went over to the mangrove to collect some leaves because I thought the color gave a more swampy feel compared to oak leaves. Back at the zoo, I built some custom trees out of oak logs and the leaves I just collected. And then I worked on making some gravestones out of stone bricks and mossy cobblestone. And yeah, this is rather gloomy, I have to say. Okay, we're done, and it does look like a proper graveyard now. And I guess the skeleton horses are gonna complement it nicely, which is what I was going for. The next rare mob we'll be doing is the Arctic fox. I've got this area right here that will be perfect as it's not too close to the screaming goats because I don't want to have 2 snowy enclosures side by side to have a nicer color contrast in the overall project. Now let's head over to the Snowy Peaks biome and we'll have a look around in case we can find some snowy biomes where Arctic foxes spawn. Yeah, we've got this grove here, so let's have a look around and see if we can spot one of these shy little creatures. Okay, I think we've got one over there. So first I'm quickly going to make a safe pathway through the nether. Now let's catch the little devil. Okay, come along, mister. We finally have Mr. Fox back at the zoo, but I forgot to collect a bit of extra snow, so let's go the entire way back once again. Yeah, while I was digging, I spotted a second fox, so do you know what? We'll bring her back as well. So we'll be naming the boy Harry and the girl Hermione. So first, let's cover the entire ground with snow. Next, we're gonna build the wall all around, and similarly to the brown panda, we'll have a staircase going up on one side. Oh dear, I think we've got Seamus in the panda enclosure. Yeah, Seamus, I'm really sorry to tell you, but you are not a panda. Maybe he doesn't actually like living in a graveyard after all. Now, let's go get some spruce leaves. So here we're going to build a few custom spruce trees, starting with a large one in the center. To help me shape the tree, I use some fences and slabs to make branches, and then I simply have to place the spruce leaves following the main shape. So of course we're not going to leave the ground fully white. What we're going to do is incorporate a bit of podzol, mossy cobblestone, and grass blocks for extra color. And to add a few extra layers to the ground and a more natural look, we're going to place some snow sheets here and there. Yeah guys, your habitat is finally done, and I really hope the wait wasn't too tedious. Okay, so the Arctic fox is done. Now let's move on to the charged creeper. As I made pretty large enclosures for everyone, I ran out of space on the top part, so we've got to prepare the area down here as well. Now, let's go get all the materials we need. Yes, we are going for a jungle theme because I thought it would fit well with the creeper as he's entirely green. So to start off, we're going to build a few custom jungle trees. We can also grow some 4x4 trees as well to make the jungle a bit denser. Now, a very important part, we're going to work on the wall, and we're making it at least 4 blocks high because I want to be very sure that the charged creeper won't escape, or else it won't be a very fun experience. I used some spruce planks for the path going around the habitat, and then I also added some podzol for the forest floor. Yeah, we're actually going to add some moss as well because it's going to match with the creeper's mossy green skin. And we can also add some grass as well as jungle leaves for making bushes. Of course, we can't have a jungle theme without adding tons of bamboo. Yeah, I had this little idea of building mini jungle temples around the place. And in the center, we could do a sort of stone pyramid as well. Now that we're done, it's time to go get a creeper. So we're quickly going to get a name tag before we forget. Yeah, there's definitely some mobs inside of here. Yeah, perfect. There's already a creeper. Okay, let's get the name tag on you. And there we have it. We've got Patrick the creeper walking around, and we'll come back to see him as soon as there's a thunderstorm. So next is the diamond armor zombie. I didn't even have time to start planning what I wanted to do because there was literally a thunderstorm that very night. Okay guys, it's showtime. Let's transform Mr. Patrick. Okay, so that is officially it for the charged creeper. Now let's get back to planning out the zombies part of the zoo. So we've got this little chunk of land here, but it's a bit small. So I was thinking the zombie could partly live inside the hill, and at the same time we can collect some extra stone while digging it out. Now this might be a bit weird, but the zombie enclosure will not actually be a habitat like the others, but rather a full-sized castle. I got this idea because the diamond armor zombie looks a bit like a knight, so I thought he could feel at home in a castle. As you can see, we're building a tall tower for the entrance, and then we'll have 2 shorter towers on each side. This will basically give the main castle look to the builds, because behind we'll have a large house with a spruce roof, which will basically add a lot of inside space to the castle. I'm realizing that the spruce roof is a bit boring, so we're gonna add extra towers sticking out. And here for the front part of the castle, we're just gonna make this little brick wall, and then I'm gonna plant some wheat and ferns, and yeah, here is the build complete. Oh my god, look what happened guys. Oh well. Let's go collect a ton of cherry blocks and fix up this mess. Yeah, to make sure this doesn't happen again, I placed some lightning rods at the top of the goat barn. I think it should solve the issue. For the inside of the castle, we're going to decorate this part using some barrels for making a sort of cupboard. We can also make some little armchairs out of spruce with a little table in between. And here I'm just gonna add a side table and some shelves on the wall where we can place some flower pots and lanterns. Now, I had made this huge space for the zombie originally, but don't be mad guys, I think I'll use it for storage instead. And voila! The build is complete. Now it's time to go find a zombie. So what we need is a full diamond armor zombie, right? So if we give a zombie diamond armor, it will become a diamond armor zombie, no? Yeah, okay, fair enough. This is the pink sheep situation all over again. But I'm still using up a large amount of my precious diamonds, so I guess it evens it out a bit. Here's a little present for you, mister. Yeah, he's not very good at picking armor up, is he? Okay, perfect. We've got the zombie with full diamond armor, so follow me inside, mister. And we're gonna name you Johnny. Yeah, it's quite cool because I made these open windows where we can see Johnny, but he's a tiny bit too tall to escape. So we've got Mr. Zombie in his castle, so let's move on to the next mob, the spider jockey. For the enclosure, I immediately thought of making a mesa biome because there's always loads of mine shafts sticking out, and the color of the terracotta is super vibrant, so it's gonna contrast perfectly. Mesa biomes always spawn near deserts, so I made my way through the nether to get to the desert from episode 1 much quicker. I then explored a bit, and I found a mesa right next to the desert. So now let's collect a ton of red sand. Oh, we're actually gonna head back to base to get a beacon. Yeah, this will make mining terracotta much quicker. Just before we go, I'm gonna grab some cobwebs and rails from this mine shaft because they're gonna be super handy for decorating. We've got everything, so to start off, we're gonna cover the whole ground with red sand. Next, let's build some huge terracotta spikes. So the spikes are done and they're looking pretty cool. And I was thinking we could connect them with mineshaft style bridges. So let's grow some dark oak trees for collecting the logs. So first we're going to use that dark oak for making the wall around the mesa biome because it fits much better with the bright orange compared to the cobblestone. Once I was done adding my little mineshafts and bridges, I headed back to the mesa to get some dead bushes and cactus that I planted all around the habitat. I also added some bushes using oak leaves and set up the pathway by shoveling down some grass blocks and adding a fence on top of the wall. So here we're basically making some cute little terracotta houses that are built directly on top of the highest terracotta spike. I really think this simple detail adds so much to the overall habitat, and these hanging houses look so adorable. Now, one last thing to make this enclosure stand out from the rest, we're basically gonna grow loads of acacia trees everywhere. And yeah, the result is really, really nice. The spider jockey is a tricky mob to handle because the spider can climb walls, and she can also suffocate her rider, so the jockey will have to live in a special contained area. Oh, and we'll be naming the jockey Ben and Jerry after my favorite ice cream. Let's have a little look around the plains biome, and I really hope we'll spot a spider jockey. Yeah, I didn't find a spider jockey, but right here we have the next mob, the chicken jockey. Yeah, let's get you somewhere safe, little guy. Oh great, the baby zombie dismounted. Yeah, I think the chicken went in the water, so yeah, okay. As finding the spider jockey would probably take a few nights, I went to collect a bunch of sand from the sand duper to start making the chicken jockey habitat. But when I returned to the overworld and explored a bit, a spider jockey finally spawned. Okay guys, it's action time. I've got no doubt this is going to be a very fun trip back to the zoo. Oh my god, the spider keeps suffocating the skeleton. Yeah, I didn't realize how hard this mob would be to get. Okay, follow me, Miss Spider. Oh my god, no, no, no. Yeah, as you can see, I did well to put some slabs on the ceiling because the spider is already up there. Thankfully, this nightmare is almost over, guys. So let's work on the final rare mob, the chicken jockey. So I know chickens dismount their rider when they go in water, but rebellious as I am, I'm still going to make a beach-themed enclosure. Now let's move on to building some custom palm trees using acacia logs and leaves. To add a cool detail, I'm making this sort of cave with a hole in the middle, and then we'll cover it with sand as well. When I was done with the habitat, I waited a few nights until I found a chicken jockey, and I carefully led him in his dedicated safe area in the cave. Now, my explanation for this next part is I thought it would be fun having a ton of random chickens in the enclosure. We are finally done with the Rare Creatures Zoo. I really hope all the work I put in this project shows, because I wanted to make a proper zoo, so I spent a lot of time on each enclosure, and of course I'm always up for a challenge, so getting all these rare mobs was quite something, although I doubt I would want to do that too often. We're going to collect every single wolf in Minecraft and build them all a nice wolf sanctuary, each having their very own dog houses in the theme of the biome I found them in. Some of these wolves are relatively common, while others can be quite hard to find because they spawn in rare biomes, and probably the rarest of them all is the white wolf that spawns on its own. Yeah, we definitely have some challenges ahead of us, so let's jump straight in. So we're gonna head back to the spruce forest we found in episode 3 because I think it's a good place to start our search. Is that one of the new wolves? Oh no, it's actually just a grey one. Oh wow, we have finally found the orange wolf, which is actually the rarest of them all, and not at all a fox, obviously. Oh, so there's some mossy cobblestone here, meaning we're in an old growth biome, so we could possibly find the chestnut or the black wolf. Of course, no sign of any wolves, so I set off to find another spruce forest further off. I landed in another old growth biome, and once again, all I found was this random sheep and a bunch of foxes, so I was starting to wonder if maybe I was still in 1.20. But as I traveled farther in the world, I found this snowy taiga and I started exploring. Oh my god, I think we have some here. So I believe this is the ashen wolf, which has a grey back and a white tummy, and they are of course really cute. Okay, so let's tame one of these guys. We're gonna name you Rick. As we're far from home, I was thinking of making a tunnel through the nether to make it easier to bring Rick back. Yeah, Rick, I'm gonna have to sit you down for this part because I really don't want you falling in the lava. While I was digging the tunnel, I realized it would be nice to get a friend for Rick, otherwise he'll be lonely in his new home, so let's welcome Morty to the family. I made my way through the nether to bring back Rick and Morty and made sure this creeper wouldn't hurt them. Yeah, we're just stopping for a quick visit of the zoo and the wolves seem to like it, which is good. Now for building the wolf sanctuary, I think we'll choose this area down here because it's relatively flat and spacious, and also I thought it would be nice to be close to the rare mob zoo, almost as if it's a continuation of the project and it'll look nice in the world. I guess it's time for my favorite activity in the entire game, digging up the ground. I noticed my elytra was out of health, so I went to repair it at the Enderman farm along with all my tools. I also returned to the snowy taiga to collect a bunch of ferns and spruce leaves for decorating later on. We're just gonna grab some lava and some water to be able to build a cobblestone generator. Yeah, I always get it wrong the first time, so let's see if I'll manage. I guess it's a major fail. Let's try this again. Okay, this time we've got it. So we're gonna mine a bunch of cobblestone blocks to be able to trace the outline of the Ashen Wolf habitat. Now that the outline is done, it's time to fill it all in with grass blocks. And yes, placing hundreds of blocks is also something I absolutely love doing in all my videos. After I'd filled up the first layer, I decided to add a small hill on one side, on which I would be building the doghouse so that it would be a bit elevated and easier to see. Here we're just gonna add a few spruce trees to start getting the spruce forest feel and inspiration for the house. For the block palette, we'll be using some stone bricks, spruce wood, and white blocks such as snow, wool, and diorite. Yeah, I just remembered I had some cobblestone back at base. Oh, and don't mind the messy shulker boxes. I admit I'm not the best in that domain. For smelting the cobblestone, we're gonna use some lava from the lava farm. Oh dear, I accidentally crafted 21 stone cutters. Great job, Tootsie. Okay, now that this is sorted, let's get on with the building. We're gonna start off by building a stone brick base for the house. Now that we're done, let's add a floor using spruce planks, and then all around, let's add a row of upside down stairs and spruce logs in the corners to make it look nicer. So we're done with the base, and I added a staircase going up to the future entrance. Next, let's move on to the upper part, so we can make some pillars in each corner out of spruce logs. Quick tip guys, always remember to take a step back when building, because it's easier to see mistakes or things that don't look very nice. And actually very soon I'll be making something not very appealing, so I guess you'll see. I went back to base to collect some logs from my chest and my wood farm. Okay, so here is the mistake. I don't know why I did that, but I decided to make the walls out of spruce after making the floor and the pillars the same color. But I'll correct it later on, don't worry. So for the roof, we'll be using some dark oak for contrast. As you can see, the house looks okay, but these spruce walls are absolutely awful. We're just gonna make a little entrance right here, and we'll finish off the roof by adding spruce logs the entire way. Yeah, it's time to remove this hideous wall, guys. So instead, we'll be using some snow, wool, and diorite. And yes, very organized Tootsie has snow in the wood chest. So now all we have to do is remove all the walls and add white ones instead. A bit annoying to do, but worth it in the end because the white gave a much nicer contrast with the spruce pillars and the darker colors of the roof. Okay, now it looks much nicer. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's better. Next, let's go ahead and add some plant pots underneath the windows. So we'll be planting some ferns and some berries on top. So for this top part right here, I was thinking of adding a little curve sticking out of the roof, which will basically give a cute and more mystical look to the house. For the cobblestone base, we're gonna make these arches so that the wolves can walk in and take shelter from the rain when they feel like it. And we can add some grass blocks with ferns and berries on all the openings, apart from the entrance, of course. I then headed back to the end to repair my elytra and all my tools, and when I returned, I added some lanterns to light up the area a bit. A cool detail we can add is a smoky chimney on the roof, so we're gonna use some stone bricks, trapdoors, and campfires. And there we have it, the cute chimney is all done. Now let's quickly work on the inside, so first let's fill up the second floor with spruce planks, and we can also fill in the windows with glass panes. I just remembered I need to cover the ground with snow sheets, so we're gonna build a small wall all around to be able to let snow golems do their magic without escaping. Let's go get a few extra grass blocks because I want to make a small hill over here to get different levels in the habitat. And of course, let's add a bunch more snow golems. For the ground, we can plant a bunch of ferns and berries everywhere. Let's also add some bushes using spruce leaves. And finally, I'm just gonna add some grass here and there, but not too much to still leave plenty of spaces covered in snow. And we can also make these small lampposts with stone brick walls and lanterns. The next day I added a bunch more spruce trees to make the forest denser, and I also added some leaves on the roof to give this wild, overgrown vibe to the house. My elytra was once again running out of health super quickly, so I decided I would merge it with an Unbreaking 3 book, and then I also grew a mangrove tree because we're going to be using the wood for making a cozy dog bed. For the frame, we'll be using some barrels and trapdoors, and then we can use some mangrove slabs to make a comfy red pillow in the middle. We can also add some plant pots in the corner and a little table on the side with a lantern. And yes, I'm trying to get rid of my 20 stone cutters, so it's normal if you see random stone cutters in the dog houses. I quickly popped into the river to get some clay for making pots, and I finished adding plants, shelves, and lanterns inside. Now that we're done, let's go breed Rick and Morty. Yeah, I decided we're gonna sit Rick on his comfy bed, and I've got to say he looks quite adorable like that. We are finally done with the Ashen Wolf home, so next on our list is the Spotted Wolf that only spawns on Savannah Plateaus. I stocked up on food and fireworks, and finally it was time to set out on our next adventure. I headed over to the Savannah Plateau I'd found earlier on in the Let's Play, and I started my search. It seems there aren't any spotted wolves around, so I guess we have to look a bit further off. Oh my god, guys, we've got one over there. Oh wow, there's like tons of them. I guess they spawn in a large group to mimic real-life African wild dogs that live in large packs. You are looking at me in a super sweet way, so we're gonna tame you first. And we can tame you as well. And this guy, oh my, you are a needy young man, aren't you? I'm just gonna tame this fourth one as well, and we can leave the rest wild. I then made my way back home, and I was careful to stop several times along the way so that all the spotted wolves could teleport gradually. So we'll be naming these four after Abba. So we've got Agneta, Frida, Björn, and Benny. So the area I chose for the spotted wolf habitat is this hill right here, because I thought it looked quite cool, and also it'll be perfect for recreating the Savannah Plateau. First, we're gonna chop down all the trees. I'm just collecting some extra grass blocks to be able to fill in this sandy part because it looks a bit weird. Okay, the hill is prepared, so now it's time to go collect a bunch of acacia logs for the building. Oh my god, I have completely destroyed the biome. Okay guys, let's quickly get out of here before anyone notices. After repairing my elytra, I started flattening out the top of the hill for building the house. And then I thought it would be quite nice if the house was kind of perched over the river, so I started making a platform connecting the two sides of the hill. For the block palette, we'll be using acacia logs, stairs, fences, trapdoors, and moss blocks. And now, let's get on with the building. To be honest with you, I didn't want to use acacia for the house because I'm not really mad on how it looks, but I wanted the house to be in the theme of the spotted wolf habitat, so yeah, I guess we'll have a bright orange house. For the roof, I'm actually gonna use some moss, which will contrast a lot with the walls, and also I thought it would be nice to have vegetation all over it. And now, let's go ahead and add all the decorations and details. I planted a few acacia trees on the side to start recreating the savanna biome, and I went to get all the pups to bring them up to their new home. I'm gonna breed these guys to make a slightly larger pack. And now I guess we can just sit them in different spots around the place. For the dog bed, I'm going to use some acacia logs, trapdoors, and for the comfy pillow, we can use some acacia slabs to stay in the orange theme. I also added some furniture and placed plant pots, lanterns, and flowers. And of course, let's not forget to place the very important stone cutters. Now it's time to transform this empty hill into a proper acacia biome, so let's go ahead and plant millions of acacia trees. Yeah, this is more like it. Now, one small issue, the platform on which the house is built looks a bit ridiculous, so let's go ahead and transform it into a bridge. This definitely looks way better. And just to finish up, we're gonna fill up the gap on the side of the hill. I am delighted to say we are done with the spotted wolf habitat, and even though I'm not a fan of acacia wood, I feel like the house is cute enough and it definitely suits the spotted wolf well. Next on our list is the striped wolf. That can only be found in the wooded Badlands biome. Thankfully, I had already found a mesa, so I guess we can start from there and have a look around for the wooded hills. Okay, we didn't find the striped wolf, but we have found this adorable armadillo. This is perfect because basically you can get some scoots from them and then you can craft some armor for the wolves. So yeah, we're definitely gonna do that. Oh, and look who we have up here. Yeah, this little guy looks so elegant on top of the mountain. So we're gonna tame these two wolves so that we can breed them. And now I guess we can start gathering loads of coarse dirt for the enclosure, as well as a bunch of dead bushes. I then gradually started bringing the wolves back by making regular stops along the way so that they could teleport to me. For making their habitat, we'll definitely be needing lots of terracottas, so I'm gonna start filling up my inventory. Okay, this is the fun part. We have to bring the pups through the nether, so I'm really gonna be careful not to make stops too close to lava because I really don't want them to get hurt. Okay, phew, we made it back to the sanctuary safely. For the names, I chose Simba and Nala. Now, for their new home, we'll basically be recreating the wooded Badlands on top of this small mountain by completely covering it with terracotta. So I'm going back to the mesa to stock up. We're gonna make a nice flat part at the top because we'll be planting some oak trees and building the house there. Now we basically have to cover up the mountain, a bit like putting colorful icing on a cake. I made sure to add some flat areas on the sides of the hill with coarse dirt where I would be planting some trees, and after repairing my shovel I went to dig up some extra coarse dirt to cover the top of the mountain. I grew a few trees here and there, as well as large ferns and grass, before heading back down to continue icing my huge mountain cake. Finally, I placed some red sand at the bottom and the biome was ready to welcome the striped wolf house. I'm quickly going over to the mangrove because I want to collect some mud for making mud bricks for the roof. And the block palette will include terracotta, oak and spruce wood, and different types of bricks. Let's start off by making white terracotta walls with oak columns in the corners. Next, let's move on to the roof. I added a small tower in the center of the roof using the same materials as the rest of the house, and I also placed down some leaves on each side. To decorate, let's go get some flowers, and we can place some in these large pots. For the floor, we can use stone bricks, and now I guess we can bring all the wolves up to see their new house. I sat them all down in different parts of the biome, and then I went back to the house to build the dog bed using spruce trapdoors and mud bricks for the pillow. We can add a few more decorations on the inside, and of course, let's not forget to place down some stone cutters. Okay, we are done with the striped wolf, and honestly, I love this habitat because it's so colorful and it really stands out. Now we can move on to the black wolf that lives in old growth pine taigas. So if you remember, we were trying to find one in the beginning, but we were unsuccessful, so I guess we can go back where we left off and explore the world a bit further. Yeah, thankfully this pine taiga really stretches on, so we're bound to spot a black wolf at some point. Oh, and of course we've got another fox just to rub it in. Okay, I think there's one right here. You are really handsome, I've got to say. So I tried taming both of them, but I'd forgotten to restock on bones, so I ran out and I had to find some skeletons in a nearby cave. Once the 2 pups were tamed, I collected some mossy cobblestone. And finally, we made our way back to base. So we'll be naming these guys Frodo and Sam, and their baby will be called Gollum. Now I want to get some armor for all the wolves, so let's head back to the Badlands to collect some scoots from the armadillos. Yeah, I need to make tons of brushes because they break super quickly, like after only 3 to 4 strokes. Okay, I think we've got enough for the moment, so let's head back. To craft the wolf armor, you need to make a sort of dog shape in the crafting table, and you can place them on the wolf like this. And then to remove, you need to use some shears. As these wolves are black, we're obviously going to dye the armor black, which looks really nice. And I made some grey armor for the ashen wolf, orange armor for the spotted one, and finally I chose brown for the striped wolves. Let's start working on the black wolf habitat. So we're gonna grow some 4x4 spruce trees, but we need to remove the ones that are very bushy because the black wolves live in old growth pine taigas where the trees are very tall and have fewer leaves. So yeah, I'm being devil Tootsie again, sacrificing so many trees in this video. I want the roof of this house to stand out a bit, so I went AFK at my guardian farm and collected loads of shards for making prismarine blocks. We will also be needing some stone bricks for the first layer and normal bricks for the second floor. So let's go collect plenty of clay from the lush cave and we can smelt it all using lava from the lava farm. The block palette will have stone, 3 types of wood, bricks, and prismarine. Well, let's get on with it. For the balcony, we'll be using some lecterns, so I went up to the nether roof to stock up on leather from the hoglin farm, and now let's get back to building. This house is from Massive Spec, and it actually took ages to build because it required so many different materials, and also it was pretty tall with loads of different levels, but honestly it looks awesome and it was really worth the effort. Now that the house is complete, we can continue working on the pine taiga forest all around. In between the tall trees we can grow some small ones to fill in the gaps nicely, and we can also add large rocks made out of mossy cobblestone, exactly like the ones you get in the normal biome. And there we have the black wolf habitat all done, and the house fits perfectly with the forest behind, and I'm sure Frodo, Sam, and Gollum will enjoy it very much. Next, we're gonna go find the woods wolf that obviously spawns in forest biomes. Yeah, it's not very difficult to find a forest, so I don't think it'll be the hardest wolf to find. Oh, and no surprise, there's some right here. I tamed 2 of the wolves that I named James and Jeremy, and then we headed back home to start working on their habitat. So let's breed these guys, and we're gonna name the baby Richard. So first we can remove all the stone here and replace it with grass blocks. Similarly to the spotted wolf house, I'd like to make the roof of this one with moss because it'll fit really well with the cozy forest look I'm going for. For the cottage, we'll be using some oak logs, spruce stairs, stone bricks, white terracotta, and moss. To start off, let's mark the corners with barrels and add oak columns on top. Next, let's fill in the floor with stone bricks. And now we can move on to the roof. Okay, so here is the shape of the house, and as you can see, I made it quite cute and compact. So now we can add in the white terracotta walls. And finally, we can decorate by adding bushes and stairs underneath the windows, campfires above the entrance, and also a cute detail could be to add loads of oak trap doors to make shutters on each side of the windows. We can also add lanterns and hanging pots with ferns in them. For the inside of the cottage, I started off by making the dog bed and I used some moss carpets in the middle. I also added some plant pots, lanterns and shelves with flowers on top. We can finish off by adding a little path in front, and here is what the finished cottage looks like. Just before moving on to the next wolf, we of course need to add the forest all around, so I planted a bunch of trees and bone mealed the ground to get plenty of grass and flowers everywhere. And there we go, the adorable little cottage in the woods is all done, and it is the perfect house for the woods wolf. Our next companion lives in a completely different biome, the sparse jungle. To find the rusty wolf, I knew I wouldn't find any in the sparse jungle near my house because I had already been there, so I flew across the ocean to find another jungle, and soon enough I found a sparse jungle I hadn't explored yet. I looked around but without any luck, and then when the night fell I suddenly spotted one. But then this zombie came out of nowhere, so I had to deal with him. I'm gonna name you guys Ron and Ginny. Bringing these two back is actually going to take a bit more time than usual because I need to cross the entire ocean and they can't teleport such a distance, so they'll have to take turns crossing by boat. Okay, we finally made it back, so let's breed you guys, and this little pup will be called Merida. First off, let's terraform the area a bit to get a flat space for the house. I'm also going to start removing the wall I had made for the snow golems so that we can merge the two biomes together. Now let's head over to the nearby sparse jungle to collect jungle logs and saplings. So here, I got the terrible idea of growing a 4x4 jungle tree and then building the house around it. I mean, it won't completely ruin the build, but I feel like it wasn't such a great idea, but oh well, it's no big deal. For this house, we'll be using some jungle oak and spruce wood, some white terracotta, and also some bricks. This is what we have for the moment, but yeah, I keep asking myself, why did I leave this tree in the middle? But yeah, I didn't think of it at the time, so we're moving on to the roof. I filled in all the walls with white terracotta and I added striped jungle beams on each side. For the upper part of the wall, we'll smelt the leftover clay we have to make some bricks. I then once again decorated the house with plant pots underneath the windows, using leaves, spruce stairs, and signs. On the sides, I placed some upside down stairs and trapdoors all around the windows to create this nice look. And finally, I filled in the gaps with glass. For the inside, I used some jungle planks to fill up the ceiling, and then I went out to grow some jungle trees and grass. I of course had to make a jungle style dog bed on one side, and I brought in Jenny so that she could sit comfortably on it. I also added some furniture and managed to get rid of 2 extra stone cutters, which was very good. So I'm just gonna place a few cocoa beans on the jungle trees, and yeah, I guess we are done with the Rusty Wolf's part of the sanctuary. As you can see, the tree in the house didn't completely ruin it, but I feel like it didn't add much either. As the sparse jungle biome is right next to the snowy taiga, we're gonna go ahead and merge the two together by terraforming a bit and then placing a few stone sheets and growing extra trees. Okay, so now it's time to find the chestnut wolf that lives in old growth spruce taigas, and basically it's the one with the tall trees being more bushy. So I was flying over the old growth pine taiga where we had found the black wolves, and then suddenly I was like, wait a minute, these trees look really bushy compared to the rest. Okay, perfect, there's a chestnut wolf right here. They actually look so good, a bit like Siamese cats in a way. So do you have a friend somewhere? Yeah, I cannot find a second chestnut wolf. I don't know if they spawn alone or something. So I guess we'll have to try and breed the chestnut wolf with another wolf, and hopefully we'll get a chestnut baby. Let's see if we can breed the chestnut wolf with Ron. Okay, well, perfect. You can actually get a chestnut baby. So I've got incredible names for you guys. I chose Chocolate and Cocoa. Now let's go ahead and start making you a cozy new home. I started by planting 4x4 spruce trees, and I really got lucky because they all grew very bushy and I didn't have to chop any down, and I also added a few small ones. This part is a bit on the side, but basically I realized I had forgotten to put snow on the trees in the snowy taiga, so I just spent half an hour quickly adding snow sheets on all the trees. I then AFK'd at the cobblestone generator because we would be needing a few stone bricks for the next build. For the tones, we're actually going to use similar ones to the Black Wolf house with spruce, dark oak, stone bricks, and prismarine. I was starting to work on the house, and suddenly I thought it would be good to grow tall red mushrooms in the woods wolf biome, so off went distracted Tootsie yet again. Okay, let's focus on the chestnut house again. For the upper layer, I will allow myself to use strip spruce, even though it was a major fail on the Ashen Wolf house, because we don't have anything else in these tones, so it will contrast better on this house. Now for the chestnut wolf bed, we'll be using dark oak trapdoors, and for the pillows, we'll use some prismarine. And I honestly think it looks super good, so yeah, we can put Mr. Chocolate on it. I finished decorating the outside of the house, adding loads of plant pots underneath the windows with ferns and mushrooms. And finally, for the inside, I added furniture and little tables to be able to place pots and lanterns with large ferns in the corners. The chestnut wolf house is complete, so we can now continue filling up the old growth forest, making sure to remove any pine trees. Oh, and let's quickly add a stone cutter, and there we are. The chestnut home is finished and it stands out really beautifully. The next wolf is the rarest and most incredible wolf of all. I am obviously talking about the pale wolf. Yeah, this is actually just the original Minecraft wolf. I'm gonna make their habitat right in the center, which means I need to fill in most of this river to be able to build on top. I had forgotten to add mossy cobblestone rocks in the chestnut wolf biome, so I quickly went to correct that. I am sure that the pale wolf will be extremely difficult to find, no doubt. Oh wow, incredible! There's already 2 at my base, already tamed. This is astonishing. Okay, so here we have more space for the pale wolf habitat. As you can see, I kept the river because I thought it looked nice, but I made it much more narrow. We can start off by planting some spruce trees to start creating the spruce forest, and we can also add plenty of grass on the ground. We're also going to pick some berries from the snowy taiga to place in the spruce forest. I think a bit of red will look quite nice. For this next build, we will be needing lots and lots of stone bricks because I'm planning on making a really tall tower that will stand out from the rest. To start off, we can make a large stone brick circle with 4 spruce columns in the corners, and gradually we build up. For the top part, we'll use some diorite, which will contrast with the stone. And as for the roof, I thought the colors that would fit best would be a mix of bricks, terracotta, and mud bricks. So I used the leftovers from the other builds. I decided to strip the spruce logs at the bottom to get a lighter contrast, and I added some stone brick walls to connect all the sides. For the inside, we can remove this grass floor and replace it with spruce planks. And for the entrance, we can add this nice large door, and then for the dog bed, we can make a typical one and use diorite for the pillows. Yeah, I admit I forgot what I had named the wolves, so we're gonna rename them Anna and Elsa, and their baby will be called Sven. I furnished the inside a bit, and I also added some windows with flower pots underneath for extra details. We are done with the pale wolf, and honestly I think this tower is one of my favorite builds from the sanctuary because it really pops out and it looks really cool as well. And now it's truly time for the rarest wolf of them all, the snowy wolf. I was truly quite worried that this one would take me ages because apparently they only spawn in groups of one, and grove biomes can be quite hard to find. On the other hand, with all my flying around the world to find the wolves, I had already spotted a really nice mountain with a small grove on the side, so I decided to head back there. We quickly need to get some leather to make boots because I don't want to be sinking in the powder snow. Oh, is that one? Yeah, no. That's another fox. I mean, this could be a baby long-eared snowy wolf, but yeah, for some reason I really doubt it. Oh my god, there's one right here. I'm kind of astonished because I thought they would be extremely difficult to find, but honestly, I'd say the chestnut wolf was the hardest to spot. Well, let's bring Cookie over to the sanctuary. Yes, I chose the name Cookie for a fully white wolf, I know. I guess it could be a white chocolate cookie. Now we need to get Cookie a friend, so I'll breed her with this striped wolf to be able to get a snowy baby that we're gonna name Cream. So I already have a plan for this biome. I want to build a huge snowy mountain. But the thing is, I already used up the areas with naturally generated hills for the wooded badlands and the savanna plateau biomes, so we basically have to build an entire mountain from scratch. Okay, well, off we go. I'm sure we'll be done in no time. To buy a mending book for my shovel, I went over to my raid farm to collect emeralds, and I discovered you can now get ominous bottles from pillagers instead of automatically having the ominous effect, which is really handy. As soon as I had mending on my shovel and repaired it, I went back to work. Yeah, this took me ages to do, but we are finally done with the snowy mountain. I left this flat area so that we can plant trees to recreate the grove, and of course we'll be building the snowy wolf home on top as well. So I couldn't figure out what type of house we could build, so we're gonna make another tower. As I had lots of leftover snow from making the mountain, I decided I would use some for the walls with a mix of stone bricks and spruce wood as well. Yeah, we kind of have an issue. I didn't leave much room for the dog beds, so I think we're just gonna incorporate some barrels in the walls, and we can add 2 trapdoors and some slabs, and yeah, this is your awesome bed, Cookie. Oh, and very important, I was able to place the last 3 stone cutters, and I mean, getting rid of the stone cutters was actually the main challenge in this video. Here is the wolf sanctuary, all done, so I'm quickly going to add a wall all around it to make a sort of outline, and yeah, this is what it looks like. By the way, let me know in the comments which wolf home was your favorite. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Love you!